Now, with Star Wars The Acolyte and Skeleton Crew as both shows being led by Kathleen Kennedy, Leslye Headland, and John Watts, as well as some other co-writers out there handling both shows simultaneously, we have John, George, and Dave doing their own thing on the other end of the spectrum when it comes to the Mandoverse, the Ahsoka Tano series, and a lot of other spin-offs associated with this post-Return of the Jedi era, so to speak. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, given that, yes, we have a lot of things happening between both Disney and Lucasfilm right now, especially between the Disney higher-ups, aka the board members, and Bob Iger, the CEO, going, of course, head-to-head with Kathleen Kennedy against the Acolyte show, and why there's been so many different problems arising out of this series. We're going to be tapping into every single detail about all of this and the latest problems that are arising out of the show based on test footage provided by Kennedy and Leslye to, of course, Disney themselves. So we've known this for a very long time now, that the Acolyte show is a very problematic series for numerous reasons. Number one, has a lot to do with the fact that it's going to retcon some aspects of the prequel trilogy movies. Number two, it's being led and written by Leslye Headland, who has openly stated before in the past that she is not a Star Wars fan, and that she has never watched the prequel trilogy movies from start to finish. And that's just the short beginning of the list there, of just some of the problems when it comes to the Acolyte series on a creative scale. Now that brings us to exactly what Kathleen Kennedy recently did with the Acolyte show, and exactly what it really means for the future of Star Wars especially. So on top of this, with many new Star Wars TV shows currently in the works by both John and Dave, recently Disney has been running into more issues with the Acolyte show for Disney+. Further, it's noted that as of late, Disney executives have been very unimpressed with the Acolyte series after Kathleen Kennedy revealed more test footage to them. It's noted that Disney is now in full panic mode over the Acolyte, and that more than 50% of the Disney board members want to actually cancel the Acolyte series after Kennedy provided tons of test footage to them that involved the many lightsaber duels and stunts that were created for the show. Further, Disney higher-ups are described to be extremely worried over the lack of quality in the footage that was shot the past month or so, and that Disney themselves now is looking to find a way to reshoot those scenes for the various episodes that Kennedy demonstrated. Now, for those of you that are unaware, the footage that was demonstrated by Kennedy to the Disney higher-ups has a lot to do with the footage that involves Carrie-Anne Moss and her character scenes mixed together with some of the other characters. Now, you guys may or may not know Carrie-Anne Moss. She played Trinity in the Matrix films. I'm sure more than 90% of you guys know who I'm talking about. But in there, Carrie-Anne Moss's character is actually going to be a very complex character. Now, what I like about this is that on paper it sounds very interesting, right? A complex character, somebody that is, very much like an Anakin type of figure. But the bad thing about it is that it's being led by Leslye Headland and Kathleen Kennedy. That's the problem that I have, is that they're not really looking into character development per se. This character that has been written by Leslye Headland, according to the Disney higher-ups and those that surround the ones that have examined the test footage, are reportedly saying that this character is very poorly written for the show, and that it does not fit the environment. So again, we know that there is a character that goes under the code name of Zumi at one point in the Acolyte series. We're not quite sure who that really pertains to just yet. It could possibly be, Carrie-Anne Moss's character for all we know, but that's what makes me worry the most about the Acolyte series, is that every week when she provides more test footage to the Disney higher-ups, they're not convinced at all. They're not impressed with the show. They're getting more and more worried about the show. They're calling for more reshoots. Kathleen Kennedy actually authorized some reshoots without getting authorization from Disney at times, putting her into more trouble. So this show has a lot of budget problems, it has a lot of creative issues, and that's why you're really not hearing all that much about the Acolyte when it comes to Kathleen Kennedy when she talks about her upcoming slate. So it really is going to be interesting to see what they have to say about the show at Star Wars Celebration this year, which, by the way, takes place in London next month. Yes, it's crazy how fast time just flies by. It's just around the corner, and it's going to be quite a thrill, let me tell you. But over, everything related to that, Bob Iger and the Disney higher-ups actually got into a very interesting shakeup about this. So, further, other board members have actually made a proposal or a plan to cancel the show to Disney CEO Bob Iger. However, Iger does not want that to happen, as it would not only take away any confidence in fans from the future of the plans for Star Wars, but to the audience, of course, it would also make them lose tens of millions of dollars in revenue. Some board members even went as far to suggest that perhaps they should make the series a non-canon series, just like Star Wars Visions is a non-canon show, and that this is something that Iger took into consideration and is still to this day as a backup plan if things continue to go in a downward spiral for the Acolyte show by Kathleen and Leslye. So, one thing I do want to take away from all of this is that on top of the problems related to the Acolyte, we also know that they are going to be exploring things like a new Sith Lord in the Acolyte series that's not going to be connected to Legends nor to anything in the existing canon. On top of that too, we have a new region of the galaxy that's going to be explored in the Acolyte series. A location of the galaxy that has yet to have been discovered. This could very well be the new Beyond that we've been hearing about that's going to be placed in Skeleton Crew. However, Skeleton Crew is a post-Return of the Jedi series, just to let you know. On top of that, the Acolyte series will also be diving into the origin of the Sith, kind of reshaping exactly who the Sith really are, or what the Sith really are, changing their values, changing their overall philosophy. So that's one main thing that a lot of fans are very skeptical about, is how Kathleen Kennedy is changing the philosophy of the Sith and changing what they believe in. So that's one big worry among a lot of fans, including myself, and how big of an impact that could really have on the casual fans, especially that don't really know who's creating these shows, Not saying that all casual fans don't know, but there's a large chunk of casual fans that think the Acolyte is just being made by the same creators who made The Mandalorian, right? That's not the case. So that's the one thing that I think Disney too worries about, is that there's a large portion of fans that don't really know who is making what, and if one fails miserably, that's going to make them lose confidence in anything further beyond the Acolyte. As far as hardcore fans go, they know better, they know who's making what, and I think it's best, guys, for us to do a lot of favors for the casual fans that really don't look up this kind of stuff, to fill them in and let them know who is making what and exactly those creators and what they are all about. Because John and Dave, they're passionate guys, right? They love what they do. Kathleen and Leslye, this is more of an agenda-driven technique and really shifting away from character development and proper storytelling. So anyways, fill me in below in the comments, guys, what you guys have to say about this, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon we hear them moans again.